And we're live. We're back. This is our second live in the past 2 hours. Things are escalating, so we wanted to come back and update everything going on. Tal will be joining us. I'm still in my party shirt. I feel like I'm not. Hold on. I don't want to distract. I don't want to distract him. Let's get my professional outfit on. This is a newsroom. Cool. White V-neck, that works. Anyways, Tal will be joining us. So let's see what has happened, what has escalated in the past few hours. There have been sirens all across Israel, the north, the south, as well as Jerusalem. Now, it's interesting to attack Jerusalem because Jerusalem is around 40% Palestinian, right? So that's an interesting decision. Now, Iran came out and said something very interesting. They said, as far as we're concerned, this is over, right? And this shouldn't be surprising. We spoke about this on the stream that we did an hour ago, that Iran has to show strength. They can't, Israel attacked them a week ago. For them to do nothing would show weakness, right? So they were put in a position where they had to do something. But, it doesn't seem, we speculated that it doesn't seem like they want a major escalation. So you would say, okay, if they don't want a major escalation, why shoot 100 suicide drones at Israel, right? Okay, fair point. It seems like the drones that they shot are quite easy to shoot down. From the reports we're getting, dozens, if not 100 plus, have already been shot down, a lot of them over Jordanian airspace. Jordan has allowed Israel to use its airspace, which is an interesting and quite surprising development, and they're currently being shot down. So it's possible Iran's logic is, okay, this is us striking back in a way that won't cause too much harm towards Israel, so they won't feel inclined to further escalate. A little tit for tat. Let's just call it even. Let's move on. This seems to be the case. What they're going for. Let's hope. Let's direly hope that Israel does not further escalate this and accepts that we are past it. If I were to guess, I have a feeling that is what's going to happen, and maybe this is wishful thinking because it's what I direly hope happens. But it is still too early to tell. We are getting updates as we speak. We're also hearing that some of the interceptions have actually been by Jordanian and Saudi Arabian jets. I do need to confirm this, but it seems like there are some reports of that. What else are we hearing? So Israel has called for its civilians to enter bomb shelters. It was said on Iranian media that ballistic missiles were fired, but Israeli intelligence says there's no, according to them, they do not think any ballistics have been fired, and the ballistic missiles do hit within minutes, so that does not seem to be the case. We initially reported that it was about a few dozen drones, but now they're saying hundreds of drones, and they're in the process of being shot down. We still do not have confirmation of any casualties. Oh, I'm now hearing from Connie in the comments, 1 10-year-old in Arad was hurt. Thank you for that update. Crowdsourcing this information is one of the quickest ways to understand what's going on. So if anybody does have any other updates, please let us know. So we do have our first injury, and it's a 10-year-old. So that is sad. And I'm interested, okay, so I'm getting here, Bedouin child. So it was a Bedouin, which would be, it's interesting. Are Bedouins considered Palestinian? I think this debate, Bedouins are generally nomadic Arabs. They are Muslim. Some might identify as Palestinian. Some may have other identities. We've never had a Bedouin on the show, so maybe that is, would be an interesting conversation. So we see that the first victim of this is a Muslim Israeli. And also on October 7th, there were a few Bedouins who were killed. It just shows that, clearly Iran would rather it be a Jew that was hit, but when these missiles are shot indiscriminately, anybody can get hurt. We are hearing a senior Israeli official pledges significant response to Iran. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's just bravado, just acting tough. There's also another cost, even if there's no casualties. Right now, the Ben Gurion airport, Israel's main airport, is shut down. No flights are coming in. No flights are exiting. Schools are closed, right? This is taking an economic toll on Israel. There's a social toll, right? So even if the casualties are low, there is still impact. But again, we're kind of potentially at a breaking point, or we're going to see things de-escalate very quickly. So it could really go one of a few ways, but we may see after this attack, we see quiet, the attacks between Iran and Israel subside, and we are over it for now at least. And that, I think, most of us are hoping for. Well, most of us on this channel, because this is a channel focused on peace and reconciliation. There are people all over the world hoping for escalation. People want to see Israel destroyed. People want to see Iran destroyed, and they're hoping that this would be the result of such an escalation. So that is one option, that this is going to de-escalate very quickly. It seems that's what Iran wants. That is what they have publicly stated, that as far as they're concerned, we're even. But if Israel does decide to respond, then this very well may be the beginning of a greater regional war. Let's see where Tal is. He might have something to contribute. Feel free to ask questions. We will do a Q&A. I also want to shout out, one Twitter account. So there's this guy named Shael Ben Ephraim. Somebody in our Discord server recently told me about him, and I checked out his channel. He actually has a very informative YouTube channel and Twitter where he does these analyses. So, I'm quite busy and can't spend a whole lot of time researching things, but he does great research. He has friends both in the IDF that he gets information from, and I think intelligence as well. And he does these fair analyses. I don't always agree with some of the assumptions or some of the conclusions he reaches from his research, but he definitely gives an informative take on the conflict. He makes a great effort to be fair, reasonable, and accurate in his reporting. So I'm actually going to drop a link to his YouTube channel and his Twitter. We're going to give him some love. I've actually never spoken to him. I did invite him to come on a stream, but he did not respond. But we do need more people reporting in an honest and fair way, and he's one of those people. And sometimes when I need to catch up on what's going on, I'll just go to his Twitter and learn. So shout out Shael, and hope to have you on the channel at some point. Yeah, that's a shout out to him. There are a lot of accounts that I'd like to trash as well, but maybe not today. We occasionally do a Twitter debunking, but I feel like now is just a good time for giving updates on what's going on. So let's see if we're hearing anything else. For those interested in knowing how I get the information, so Twitter is one place, and again, you need to make sure there's no misinformation. And then I have multiple news sources open, seeing their live updates. Twitter is great because it's really people reporting, so you could get information very quickly, but there's also a lot of misinformation. So Tal Hagen, those who are familiar with the channel, he's on here quite often. He is one of the best researchers when it comes to this stuff. He's constantly debunking stuff. I actually want to talk to him about his method of doing so, but an hour or so ago, there's a photo that was quickly spread through Twitter about an explosion in Tehran. I saw it, and instantly I'm like, oh damn, it looks like Israel already struck back. Tal very quickly identified that this was a photo from 2021, and that it should, that it's just, it's not nothing in Tehran happened, right? So Twitter is a great means for knowing what's happening, but you do need to be skeptical and you know um, check the source of information, because um, you could be fed misinformation. So careful. Um, it's interesting. On a side note, so there was recently a terror attack in Sydney. Was it in Sydney? I believe it was in Sydney. And then you have people like Syrian Girl, who's one of the cringiest accounts on Twitter, and just I don't like to be mean, but like garbage activists, like straight up. So she right away said that it was she thinks it was an Israeli. And then you have people on the pro-Israel side, and I'll mention a name here as well, Lee Kern, who I'm gonna do a review and debunking of his account, because also talk about garbage activism. On the other side, he's one of them. He right away said it's Islamist fundamentalist. Turns out it wasn't a Jew or a Muslim who did that attack. It was supposedly, it was a gender motivated attack. But it just goes to show how people, you know, um, whenever something happens, they try to have it like confirm what they already believe or they want to believe is true. So if you hate Israel, you're gonna, you see things, you believe Israel or Jews are responsible for all these things. You jump to conclusions. If you're anti-Muslim or anti-Palestinian, you're going to do the same thing and believe that, jump to conclusions and think that this is like an Islamist who did it. Kanye S is Tal only on Twitter. I think that's his main platform. Yes. Let's see what more information we're getting. I see Tal tweeting. Tal, you tweeted 4 minutes ago. Get on stream, bro. So 10-year-old Bedouin Muslim Israeli kid, we're hearing he's severely wounded. I do want to confirm that that's true. So this is the thing. When we hear about people wounded, we're like, oh, okay, at least not killed. But a lot of like wounds, a lot of those injured, like these are life-changing wounds. First of all, they're always traumatizing, right? Anybody who gets injured in an attack has PTSD. But sometimes like injured means loss of legs, paralyzed, loss of hearing or sight. Like there's obviously different levels to injury, but an injury is not like, oh, he'll be okay. It's often life-changing. So yeah. Tal said, coming, dealing with misinformation. That's our guy right there, dealing with misinformation. Let's see. IDF says ballistic missile. So ballistic missiles have been shot. IDF says ballistic missile barrage launch from Iran has concluded. Drones and cruise missiles still expected. So I'm wondering, the 10-year-old, was he injured by one of these ballistic missiles? Oh, here we have Tal joining. Tal, welcome.
Hey.
I've just been giving a general update. Also told people about the awesome research work you do.
I think I've spanned everyone's timeline who follows me for the past 2 hours, because the amount of misinformation currently being spread is phenomenal. Videos that are completely unrelated, videos from weeks ago, photos that are not related, random reports that have nothing to do with the conflict. It's bad. It's getting a little bit better now, because now there's actually footage of the attacks and the Iron Dome activation. So like there's more footage that people can latch onto that's actually real. But what's also is that it's not just coming from one type of source. I mean, it's throughout pro-Israel sites, anti-Israel sites, pro-Palestinian, anti-Palestinian, everything. They're all like, the amount of like screenshots I've taken of like all these like sometimes major activists just sharing misinformation is
so
phenomenal.
I'll often see a post on Twitter and I'm like, I don't know if that's true. And then I'll look at the comments and I see you give a little debunking right there. So that happens quite often. You want to share about your process of getting to the bottom of this, because you're very quick with photos and videos to find the source. So what's really your method, and how can people have a learn from this
Yeah,
method so they can discover what's true or not? I'm gonna grab my charger real quick.
yeah. So the basic methodology I think that everyone can use, that you don't need to have any expertise, you don't have to have any experience in this field, is just Google Lens. If you take your phone and you just open the little camera icon on Google, then you get to this thing called Google Lens, and you can take a photo, any photo, and it'll try to find the source of that. Now, it's not always accurate, and sometimes you have to kind of like fiddle with it in order to get the image. Um, but it's a really good way to get an initial indicator on whether or not the image is real. Sometimes all I need to do is just literally like take 5 seconds, excuse me, to look up if this image has ever appeared elsewhere, and that's it. Then I'm able to fact check it. And there was one person that was replying to me, some news site, saying, real news, we have to react fastly, and it's not an excuse. If I in the past 2 hours, in like seconds, I was able to fact check things, then you can take the extra 5 seconds to make sure that what you're posting is accurate before you upload it. If not, you're just spreading misinformation. I don't care about you having the rush and you need to spread the word because you want to get your views. I don't care. And I don't think anyone should. And I think that in general, people who spread misinformation are consistently doing it and not apologizing, and that there's no consequences for it. I think that there should be a lot more consequences for people who share misinformation very freely without even thinking. People make mistakes, and that's fine. We're not always going to get the facts right. But I have way less, you could say, not mercy, but what do you call it? Like
Tolerance.
tolerance. I have way less tolerance for people who are supposedly analysts or journalists, or people who like put themselves on a pedestal as those who share information to the public, and the information that they're sharing is fake, and all it takes is literally a 10-second search to verify if it's true or not. When I see that, I just completely dismiss you as a credible source immediately. Like if you do that. Of course, maybe you don't get the full picture, or you mess up on the Hebrew translation or the Arabic translation, and when you're looking into the story, that's fine. People make mistakes on those type of things, and also we have different perspectives. But when you're saying new footage of Iranian attack, you say you're a journalist or a news site, and you say new footage of Iranian attack, and all it took me was 10 seconds to find out that footage was from a year ago, then you're not a credible news source. One of the biggest ones I saw do it today was Al Jazeera. Actually, they did it with a video if you probably saw a video of like this, looks like a rocket going flying really, really fast over a high-rise building. That video is like really old. It has nothing to do with the current war, and it was shared by a major outlet. And it makes me question like who's on these people's teams. Like what verification process are they inputting? And I've seen this happen with every type of news site. It doesn't have to do with a certain agenda or a certain political motive. It seems
Right.
to be a general kind of degradation of people's credibility of making sure that the information that gets out there is factual. Especially when you have the internet and you have so many ways to verify things, and people don't do it.
Right.
It's a really huge issue.
Yeah, and when it's often as simple as doing a reverse image search on Google, there's really no excuse. There's some pressure. People want to be the first to report. It's good for impressions, but cannot come at the expense of reporting accurately. I always wonder where it starts, because like there needs to be a first person who is sharing this and actually lying about it. Like most people who share misinformation are not doing it willingly. They don't understand it's misinformation. Um, but for it to start, like who is the first person who took this image from 2021 and said explosion in Tehran, right? Like
So
that,
that's a good example. That's something that, because at the end of the day, someone had to go pull it
right,
up.
exactly. Somebody, the first person must be doing it intentionally, you know?
Yeah, but again, you don't always know who that is. Sometimes it can just be it could be malicious, or it could just be one person who knows that they're going to be able to, um, get a lot of views from posting something that's clickbaity and it looks like they're the breaking news. So then they share it, and then everyone else shares it afterwards.
Yep. Yep. We have a question from MedDBM saying, could this be an opportunity to liberate population from tyranny? So what you're saying is this is an escalation to topple the Iranian regime and have them, you know, install a more moderate or liberal or democratic party. I think that it's probably wishful thinking. Regime change is very challenging, and it's almost impossible to do simply uh, through without putting ground forces on forces on the ground. Like the regime could withstand aerial bombardment and not be toppled. There needs to be like an actual replacement, and generally, it's those who are the most organized and the best armed who are going to fill power vacuums. But there's no force in Iran that is, aside from the government and their military, that is heavily armed and organized. So it's not like there's an obvious replacement. Um, you could potentially have a military coup, right? That's possible. I don't know. I'm not by no means an expert on Iranian domestic like policy and what the likelihood of that happening is, but without a clear replacement and without a ground invasion, regime change is very, very unlikely. So I don't think we should be counting on it. Would you add anything to that? I would like to respond to Abdu Mamat Noor's
By the
question.
way, something that, let me just confirm if it's
Sure.
real. Okay. There's a video that all of you are going to be seeing online right now of supposedly fires in the Negev. It's from Texas from like 5 months ago. So,
Okay, well, there we go. Yeah,
oh, it's actually might not even be from Texas, but it's not recent. It's an old
it's
video.
not recent. Okay. So Abdu Mamat Noor asks, who do you support? Um, I'll speak for myself, but I imagine Tal would agree. I support the people of all the nations, the Israeli people, the Palestinian people, the Iranian people. Um, this channel is not about taking sides and pointing fingers. It's about highlighting the legitimacy of both sides' narrative while condemning the leadership of both sides. So that's the approach we generally take. Um, one analogy that I think is a good way to understand Israel Palestine, or even Israel Iran, however you want to look at it. Imagine like Israel and Palestine, the analogy would be like a couple that have been abusing each other for decades now, right? They have both engaged in domestic abuse. We could talk about who's been abused worse. I'm okay having that conversation, but they've both engaged in abuse. They're now in family court. The majority of the population that talk about the conflict, they act as if they are attorneys for one side or the other. But in fact, they are in need of mediators, not attorneys. We do not need more people trying to defend one side and prove that they are good and the other is bad. That is not what we need. We need mediators to the conflict who are trying to reconcile between both sides. So I think it's a helpful analogy to just better understand how most people approach the conflict and what I feel a better approach to it would be. Connie says, I hear there's a lot of opposition in Iran now. I heard that there were pro-attack rallies, but I do know that many of the Iranian population are anti the regime, but they're also often scared to protest because the regime cracks down on these protests quite violently. So yeah, I don't have.
Also, in general, like I think that even it doesn't have to do with the Iranian regime cracking down. In my opinion, I think that any country that's currently doing an attack against another country, it rallies around nationalistic support. And usually anyone who's in opposition to that is going to be thrown to the side and told to shut up, even if it's legal. Like we saw this with Israel at the beginning of the war. There was no such thing as being against the war. I think that's a general thing that I think you see with countries, or when America went to Iraq or Afghanistan, that the battle cry of that country fighting and setting an attack against the enemy is always going to take the central stage.
Right. And you know, this it seems to be something quite inherent to human like psychology, that they rally behind their government when there's conflict. But what's unfortunate about that is then the opposing population view that support as justification to continuing the attack, and that civilian harm is okay because they support this government, right? So like, you know, you have Israelis say, yeah, look how many Palestinians support October 7th. Okay, so civilians die. They support what happens. It's not the end of the world. And, you know, the majority of Israelis support our response to October 7th. And people around the world say, see, there are no innocent Israelis. Look at the brutality they support. So humans are generally just acting like humans when they rally behind who they deem to be their protector. And then people use that as a justification to cause collective harm to that group. I do see Syrian Girl, one of who we mentioned earlier in the stream, one of the internet's top peddlers of misinformation and propaganda, saying live now, Iran's hypersonic missiles hitting Israel, and it shows a few missiles hitting. Do we know if this video is?
I don't know, but funny enough, I'm actually just writing on one of her posts at misinformation. So
That's not
most
real?
likely not.
Okay, and let's actually talk about misinformation real quick, because you know, Elon Musk bought Twitter. You know, and his reason was that he views it as, you know, the digital town square, and everybody deserves a say. And I certainly understand that ideal. I think it's very challenging when so much of discourse is happening on a certain platform, and the decision of what can and can't be said is a large corporation. And I don't think the government regulating and them having a say is a good solution either. Unless the government says, you know, you need to give people like freedom of speech on this platform as if it's a town square. Like if the government were to come in and say that, I think that's okay regulation. But we did see even in the Twitter files that like the government was in touch with Twitter to try to get content pulled off and stuff like that. So it's a very dangerous relationship. And this is a new challenge we're facing, right? This, you know, digital town square. But this whole idea where everybody has just a platform to broadcast ideas is also, we're seeing the result of it be actually problematic. So I agree with Elon Musk's ideal, but when seeing the result of it, we are seeing record levels of misinformation. There's record levels of hate being spread. And community notes are often slow, and they're sometimes not legit, and they're often not believed. So community notes is not a good solution to this. So what can we actually do? And, you know, again, I don't think we necessarily need to deplatform let's call them problematic voices, but I think there's an interesting solution that I've been thinking of. And imagine if your reach was dependent on a certain criteria. So let's say every time you post something, your Twitter account has a score, and it's not dependent on your political views. It's dependent on two things: the accuracy of what you're saying. So if you report things inaccurately, if you promote falsehoods, if you're blatantly lying, or maybe you're even sharing things unintentionally, but it's misinformation, it throttles your reach. So you get less reach, less visibility if you have a history of posting misinformation. And another criteria is maybe if you're posting divisive rhetoric, right? There's people who are just fanning the flames of hate between, you know, there's like, we're hitting record levels of anti-Semitism now, a lot of Islamophobia, anti-Israel, anti-Palestine. Well, let me be clear. It's okay to be anti-governments, right? But like, there's a lot of like fanning the flames of hate against entire groups of people, accounts that do that should also be throttled. So there becomes an incentive that the more accurate your posts are, and the more focused on like societal cohesion and reconciliation and peace, the more reach you get. So you create this incentive to report accurately and things that are about like building cohesion. Again, there's a level of subjectivity here, so it's not always so easy, but I feel like this is a good solution. I agree, censorship is challenging, but just giving a free rein to just people who promote falsehoods and divisive rhetoric, it's clearly taking a negative toll on society. Right now, I think Twitter is net negative for humanity. It has the ability to be a massive force of good, but currently it isn't.
I think it's more than that. The one of the issues that we face is that I think the issue with Twitter when it comes to misinformation is that while community notes could be good, and as far as I'm aware, if you actually get a community note on the post, and you don't get the revenue anymore from it. But one, you can delete that, and then there's really nothing happens to you if it gets deleted. And when you're constantly uploading misinformation, sometimes, for example, right now, a lot of my posts, which are just one after another about debunking information, they're getting thousands of views. So even if one of them is me posting misinformation, then I delete that one, and then all the others still get money. Like there's no real repercussion.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also you're incentivized. You don't get money because of how, I don't get money, for example, when I upload a analysis that I spent 40 hours on and I really put all my effort into it. I don't get paid depending on how many sources I used or how much effort I put into the analysis. I get paid by Twitter depending on how many views that gets.
Mm-hmm.
And what gets views isn't a deep, in-depth analysis or something really, mundane but interesting. It's flashy gore. It's, something
Correct.
that people are going to agree with.
Correct. So yeah, if there's a way to really incentivize posting positive things and accurate things, then I think we'd be better off. Yeah. Awesome. Eddie Azimi goes, liberate Iranians like you did Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen. Yeah, that's a good case against regime change. It is interesting though that like the further in time you progress, like your perspective starts to change. So like before the invasion of Iraq, it was widely supported by the Western world. Then we see that people are generally easy to convince that attacking another country is okay if they believe it will make them safer. So I think 70% of Americans supported the war in Iraq. Now, shortly after, when we saw how many people were killed, right, hundreds of thousands of civilians were killed in that war, and I think it's something like 5,000 to 6,000 U.S. soldiers. People are like, "Whoa, this was a disaster, right? This was a huge mistake." Now, decades have passed. Saddam Hussein is dead, and the situation in Iraq is better than it was prior to Saddam Hussein. So, now people, I think, are starting to say, "Oh, you know what? Maybe it was okay in hindsight." I don't think this still justifies it, right? I don't think that like we should be toppling sovereign nations, even if their regimes are brutal. But I think once you see like once the dust settles, the dead are buried. You start to forget the amount of destruction that was caused, and you're like, oh, it's better. And then people start to see that it was for the greater good. But it's just a very dangerous precedent using that logic. And then we could look at another situation like Afghanistan. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years, and days after leaving, the Taliban took over again. Like that was a disaster. But yeah, generally speaking, regime change is very hard. It doesn't work, and it often causes massive harm to civilians. It's interesting, the analytics I'm getting right now show there's over 100 people viewing this on Twitter right now, but I don't know if I trust these Twitter.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's amazing. Like one video gets picked up, like if you're seeing any video, for example, online, okay, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about, just so you understand how much misinformation you're getting fed right now with this
Yeah.
conflict. I'm just going to share my Twitter account. Let me do this. Share.
Connie saying Libya has slavery now. Yep, that's true. There's been a big slave trade in Libya since toppling Gaddafi. Also, toppling Gaddafi was so interesting that NATO got involved. Like, there's some, there was clearly some ulterior motive there. It wasn't, oh, let's help the
Okay, so let's
rebels,
quickly,
Yeah, go
while
for it.
I don't lose my mind over this, just so you understand what you guys are all facing right now. So let me just bring it. So this is on Twitter. If you guys want to follow, feel free to follow and go over, but we're not going to do a thing. What's the best way to show this? I guess media. Here, I'll just go through the different posts that have been recently made. Let me just refresh my page. Okay, so this video that's being showcased of Israel is burning at the moment. Now, this is a page with like 264,000 people, okay, that rely on him for news, for breaking news.
Who is this?
Megatron. And he says, and this is the video of Israel's burning right now. Well, the video is 2 weeks old, and it's actually of supposedly of an attack by Ukraine. And if you'd like proof, which I think is always important to show, here's, unlike some people, I provide a source. And here's the exact same video.
Right. Like, he should be instantly demonetized and his reach should be throttled. And not just for this post, moving forward,
This is probably a video that all of you have seen. So Syrian girl posted this, War Watch posted this. These are people with significant followings, okay? People trust them. Here's the video. So you probably saw this video of the attack in the Negev, all the firefighters, blah, blah, blah.
Wait, I'm still seeing just your main page.
Oh, can you see this?
I see your Twitter, but it says Telegram warfare, the new frontier of psychological warfare.
Oh, that's weird. Has it not gone down?
Huh.
Wait, stop. Let me share this. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I show you? Did you guys not see any of that? Okay.
Yeah, we didn't see it.
Okay, so we're going to go back. I'm very sorry for that. We're going to pretend that
real quick shout out. We have a comment from Acro Magan. Absolutely love your work. And when you have Tal on, I've been watching all your videos for years now. Keep it up, please. Thank you so much. And we appreciate it. Okay,
so we're going to go through that. Now, has nothing to do with the creators. It's about understand that people trust. When you have this many followers, it means people trust you. They want to hear what you have to say. So here's Megatron. This person has 250,000 people more that trust his breaking news analysis. Israel's burning at the moment. He shows this video. And this video is actually supposedly from Ukraine. It was filmed 2 weeks ago at least. And so here's the video that he shared, just so you can see the same thing. Look at this little thing in the shot. And then there's the explosion. And now here's the video on YouTube. Same video. It's 2 weeks old, irrelevant to the case.
Right.
This video is being shared by a lot of people right now. You're going to see this all over. So here, Syrian girl, person has a lot of following. 381,000 people follow this account. They trust it. Live now, Israel's on fire. This is also, she's filming a TV screen. This is being reported on some news channel. I think this is a large Lebanese news channel. I'm not exactly sure. And look, this is the video. Now, just so you can remember, one of the ways that you can know things are fake is like try to find specific reference points. So we have a guy walking, and then we have a car coming up the hill. We have fire in the background, and then a woman comes through the frame. Quite late actually. Okay, so here is the actual video. Here's the video on TikTok from a while ago. It's not recent. Guy going, car coming up, and we know it's not recent. Sometimes it doesn't show. Here, it's from 2/3, which is the beginning of March. This is from the beginning. So that's that. Oh, you can't see that frame, but basically it's from the beginning of March. Go to the next one. And this is an issue. There's no responsibility for these people to be accurate.
Right.
This was.
Yeah, there needs to be an actual penalty, right? I'm not saying deplatform them, but throttle their reach, demonetize
Here,
them.
this is mention. Oh, this is an OSINT account, an open source intelligence account. He puts out this video saying impact in Israel confirmed. And this is a confirmed hit.
Confirmed, confirmed.
Well, so here's the video from 2 years ago. Exact same video.
Wait, Tal, how do you so you explained how you do images, but how do you find the source of videos?
So videos, the best way to find videos is to try to find okay, think about it like clickbait. Um, so in clickbait, they always want to get the best part of the video in the frame, whatever, the big flame in the background or the people in the frame. So get a screenshot of that frame of the video, because then there's most likely going to be a what do you call it? The cover photo or the
Oh, interesting. And then
so
the reverse Google search picks
that's
up
what'll
on that.
turn up.
Mm,
Sometimes you have to play around with it. There have been videos, it's really funny, where I actually have to make, instead of having, let's just say you have this whole video of me talking with you, and for some reason it doesn't recognize us talking together, but for some reason when I put it only on me, suddenly it does recognize the video. So sometimes you have to play around with it.
okay, interesting.
Yeah, thumbnail, straighten the
That's
shit out of
yeah,
the girl said
that's
thumbnail. I don't know why I put up
thumbnail.
with it.
We have a question from Amira. Amira says, "Which accounts to follow to get real news from Israel, not fake news?" So, first of all, I would follow Tal because Tal does good work. You're welcome to
I
follow me. I
appreciate
don't
it.
do much reporting, more so thoughts, analysis. But Tal's a
Um,
great account.
so I'm not a journalist, for example. I don't report on what's going on. I simply correct information, and sometimes I write analyses on topics that interest me. I don't think it's wrong for you to follow all the major accounts, both pro-Israeli or pro-Palestinian or whatever. I think you should follow as many accounts as possible. Personally, I don't think my issue. This is something that comes up a lot. You'll see it in any live stream or discussion with me, and Adar can attest to this. I don't like telling people what reputable source to follow, because when I do that, they'll say, "Oh, okay, so I can trust this site." And then every time they upload something, oh, they're trustworthy. Like, they're not going to lie to me, but it's not. You have to always, there's checks and balances should be with every single account. There's no accounts that are
Yeah,
always going to tell you the real news. Sometimes they'll make something up. Sometimes they'll get something wrong. I've gotten things wrong in the past where I've had to be corrected. Thankfully, it's usually minor. It's not such a big issue when it comes to fact checking. But it happens, and you need to be aware of that sometimes the accounts that you follow can mess up.
right.
But maybe reliability accounts that are more reliable is see how much, not just what they're being corrected on, accounts that are being fact checked, but on what. So as we said a few minutes earlier, if account is being fact checked because they made a really complicated mistake, like in the statistics, they did the statistics wrong. Okay, they made a mistake in statistics because they're not as good. But if they've got called out for example, the accounts that I've showed, where all it took was 1 minute of fact checking, and didn't really take any brains to do it, especially from an account that is either a media organization, a journalist, or an analyst, then I'd be a lot more careful of those accounts. So those are the current. We'll go back just quickly
Yeah,
to this.
I would also add that in terms of just news outlets, I personally like Haaretz. They are considered probably the most left-wing Israeli news outlet, but this will be in like their op-eds, right? Their op-eds are going to be left-wing. Now, how does them being left-wing affect their reporting? Um, I think that they're less likely to accept like Israeli and IDF narrative as absolute truth, so they report on things with a higher level of skepticism than like Ynet or Times of Israel. Um, so and just a lot of the other Israeli news sites. So I think in terms of actually reporting honestly and doing it like with the level of skepticism and high level journalism, I think Haaretz generally is a safe bet there.
Yeah. Yeah, it really depends on. Okay, the good thing is some of the accounts. The issue I have is exactly, it's like more frustrating is that I'm seeing these major accounts that I've just fact checked, and now they're all deleting their posts, and that's it. They just delete it. Most people won't see that they just outright lied, or they just didn't do the basic necessity of fact checking, and There's no repercussions for it. And I think that's the issue. Is in with mainstream media, one of the biggest issues that we had with it, the reason that a lot of people wanted to go to um, alternative news sites is because of corporate interests, and sometimes the government played a part in the what the sites were allowed to say or not. But something that a lot of these sites did have, and I know this from friends of mine who do work in mainstream media, is that if these people mess up, as in if they get caught lying in one of their reports, then they're screwed. That's it. They're out of a job. A lot of these people. I know people that have lost,
Hmm.
that's it. Like they're screwed over if they make a mistake. But for a lot of alternative news sites, there's nothing. There's no checks and balances. If they make a mistake, they just delete it and move on. But the damage is already done. And as Adar said, is that the I'll give you an example. So I did a fact check on this one page. It has 500 views, but the person who uploaded the video has 50,000 views on it, and so it doesn't matter. Like, let's just say 500 people saw my fact check. The 49,500 people didn't see it, and now they believe something that is false. So it's also that issue of the discrepancies in the following count, which sucks because it's like I don't want to have to care about my following count. I just want to focus on getting factual information out there. But then when you don't have a following, you can't get it out there, and then misinformation reigns supreme.
Right. Yeah. Um, why Shepard? You're asking airbase in Negev being attacked. I think there's certainly an attempt to hit military bases, but I haven't seen any confirmation that that happened. I just saw on Twitter, again, yet to be confirmed. Eliran Ben Yair, who's actually a friend, he's been on the channel. He says out of the hundreds of UAVs and missiles that fired, only 2 managed to penetrate the air defense and fall in Israel. Both landed in Arab villages and killed a 10-year-old Muslim. I have not seen any reports that the 10-year-old has been killed, so I would
Yeah, I also saw that it was just that he was injured.
injured, right? So let's take this with a grain of salt for now. But it seems almost all of them have been taken down. I mean, it's quite possible, we said this earlier, that Iran didn't wanted to show strength but not cause severe damage to Israel as to not force them to response. But so it seems like these drones are relatively easy to take down. That is one way to look at it. Another is that Israel's defense systems are stronger than expected, at least for long range rockets and drones. The long range stuff is generally easier to shoot down than short range things. Like the hardest thing to take down would be like a mortar. It's only in the air for sometimes even 30 seconds, and then you have like the Qassam rockets, which is the most common rocket that Hamas shoots. Those are also relatively hard. They're harder to shoot down, although the Iron Dome successfully takes them out. So the longer it's in the air, the easier it is to take it down, generally speaking.
Yeah, I think something also that people need to be aware of is, for example, there are a few videos of what looks like impacts by rockets, like at really, really high velocities. But we need to remember that while they are coming towards the state of Israel, there's also a chance that they fell in Jordan on their way to Israel. Like, we don't know. And the point is that all these videos, like, for example, there's one video that probably a lot of you have seen. I could try to find it in a few minutes, of like this missile going straight down and just this massive impact. I saw in less than a minute that video being attributed to like 4 different bases, to 4 different areas. It hit Ben Gurion, it hit Nevatim Air Base, it hit the Negev, it hit here, it hit here, it hit here. My honest advice, especially during times of crisis like now, is don't trust anything you see, like absolutely nothing. Usually I would say that first, trust the initial reports and push the source.
Right.
Don't trust anything right now. Nothing you see is reliable at the moment,
Yeah.
because the vast majority of things currently being reported are misinformation.
Why Shepard says apparently there's a gag order on the impacts. That wouldn't be surprising. It would make sense because the second you're able to actually collect data and improve your accuracy if you have the data on what hit and where. I think that's probably if there is a gag order, that probably would be the rationale. But why Shepard? Where did you hear that? Just so you know. And Amira has a beautiful comment. People in Israel and Palestine has been through a lot of trauma lately. A lot of healing is needed. It's a big mess and freedom to Iranian people. Amen, Amira. Amen to that. So, Tal, while you're looking for another update, I started playing the keyboard a few weeks ago. I'm not musically talented, but do you recognize the song? Because it is Shabbat. Wait, I messed it up. Oh, crowd.
I love how we're taking a short break from the war for this.
I think it's important. We all need to be able to breathe and relax. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is a classic. I like how the comments are singing with you.
You know what song that was? Chat, let me know if you know what song that was. There we go. Yeah, you guys got it. Cool. I learned that in a week, but still working on it.
Yeah, but I'm just
It's a Shabbat song called Shalom Aleichem. It's about peace and calling in of peace. Why is Shepard saying J Post is reporting on the gag order? So let's see.
regarding the gag order. I don't know if it's true, but just from a strategic, it makes sense.
It was a girl who was injured, not a boy. Wait, I'm seeing.
Who knows? It's hard to know.
Look, right on J Post. It's so interesting. Hold on, let me share my screen real quick. So here it says Iran attacks Israel. Bedouin girl seriously wounded. 10-year-old girl from Bedouin village seriously wounded in Iranian attack. Here on the right-hand side, it says 10-year-old boy from Bedouin village seriously wounded by Iranian attack.
Again, it's the initial. We're literally in the middle of a massive strike on Israel. There's information.
Oh, but I mean, that's conflicting information on the same site, so that's a little weird,
Well, that's fun. Typos, I would assume.
Girl, boy, yeah, similar.
One of them is probably no.
Why Shepard says thinks 2 injuries. Juki Boy is asking for updates. Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. So we're reporting on the information as it's coming out, but it seems like they're not reporting on all the
right. Okay, so right now it's
strikes. Yeah, go ahead.
We had the first initial wave of strikes on the state of Israel. It seems that the majority of strikes were focused on the north of Israel, the south of Israel, and some in the center. Mainly Jerusalem. I reached out to people who I know from Jerusalem, and there was a lot of explosions over Jerusalem. But the vast majority of the strikes have been the south, towards around Nevatim Air Base, which is one of Israel's largest Air Force base. That's where the majority of those missile alerts have been concentrated. And then the north of Israel, which is mainly just that whole area with Hezbollah. Regarding damage and attacks, it doesn't seem like there's been much reports of it yet. I assume that it'll take time for these reports to come out. The vast majority of the videos that we're seeing online are not credible. It's hard to know exactly where they're filmed or what they're actually showcasing. So I would wait on giving them any legitimacy until further reports come out that can then retroactively confirm the legitimacy of videos in the past. But from what I understood, these are coming in waves. Like there's more likely going to be more attacks over the next few hours. But we haven't had a missile alert for about an hour, actually, according to this. which is, wait, is that accurate? Yeah, well, the last missile alert was an hour ago. So also take that with a grain of salt. Is about the fact that the missile alerts aren't going off.
Right. I mean, the missile alerts are actually a source of truth, right? It's a source of truth of if there's rockets or missiles being shot, it doesn't, and you can know the area it's shot, right? So this is something that anybody can do. Anybody can download an app, and then you get all the alerts that are happening in Israel. But in terms of impacts, it does not tell you impacts. And so we're not hearing much in terms of impacts and casualties.
No, there hasn't been really anything from independent sources or stuff. There's been talks about. I've seen only footage of destruction from like interceptions, like from the actual piece of the missile falling. I think there was a video allegedly from Jordan of this massive piece of what looks like a piece of the missile inside of some village, some town, but nothing confirmed. Again, it's hard to confirm anything.
Right. I wonder why they targeted Jerusalem so hard. It seems like
Yeah,
a
that
lot
was
of,
weird to me too. I was trying to
right?
figure out what they were targeting. I can think of a few areas, but Nevatim made sense. They also talked about targeting Nevatim for a long time because that's the main base. Oh, Hagari's talking.
Should we stream that? Can someone
Yeah.
send a link?
Hagari speaking.
Somebody's asking why you shouldn't trust Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is, I believe, owned by Qatar, right? So it's literally a government-owned newspaper.
So I'm just I don't.
Generally speaking, that's not a trusted source of information.
So
Especially
my
if
personal
Qatar
thing.
Yeah, what's up?
Sorry, you were saying?
No, I'm saying we shouldn't trust Al Jazeera. Someone's asking why we shouldn't trust them. It's because it's a publication owned by Qatar. Generally speaking, publications owned by governments, you should be very skeptical about them and their agenda. Qatar is the country, especially, that shouldn't really be trusted. They're involved in financing terrorism and have their hands in all sorts of shady things. If it was like a really if there was like a Swedish-owned newspaper, I'd say okay, maybe, right? But like U.S.-owned, Israel-owned, Qatari-owned, like countries that are involved in like war and conflict and massive attempts at PR and whatnot, don't trust. They should not be seen as trusted sources of information, generally speaking. Yeah, what's up, Tom?
Just that regarding Al Jazeera, like specifically in this case, the fact that their main like news station shared a video that was very easily verifiably false should be a good indicator about following them currently during this situation. And any site, by the way, that does these very, very easily fixable mistakes right now should not be followed during this conflict.
Do we have the video of Hagari talking?
Trying to look
for
for
those
it.
who don't know, Daniel Hagari is the IDF spokesperson.
I'm looking for it.
If somebody has it, please send a link. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I see something from an hour ago. Baron's asking, how would you convince Palestinians to stop watching Al Jazeera? It's a good question. I would say the only way to effectively do it is to have a good alternative. And I'm not so well informed on alternative Arabic news stations, so I don't know what would be a better alternative. There really might not be many good options.
With what?
Like what is a good Arabic news station that Palestinians can trust? Again, there might be one, but I'm just not sure.
I think something that I found is that, and just in general, how there were a lot of different intelligence or analyst accounts that I really respected, both Israeli and Palestinian, and kind of like the beginning of the conflict. I felt that they were really good at just giving the information that I needed. And then certain events happened either with the hospital or with Israel entering Khan Yunis or Israel's assassination in the council, and then they just lost it. Like that was it. That was
Who is
forget
this?
source. All these, I'm not going to name accounts, but different is pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian accounts just lost themselves, just posting misinformation, no sources, like accounts that I really trusted. Like when I wanted to know specifically about this military or this person's beliefs, I would go after them because I really had a belief. And then some event happened and they just went full propaganda.
Yeah. The Twitter is just a big cringe show, and it's not. I can't even tell you what side is cringier. It's both. It's like two sides of the aisle, but they don't understand how similar they are in terms of what they're posting, how unhelpful it is, how much they peddle in misinformation. Um, Thanks for the super chat, Mehdi, with the super chat. Thanks, Dar, from a Canadian Tunisian for all your valuable effort with Sulha. Did you know that Tunisians of Jewish faith have a pilgrimage site in the oldest Tunisian synagogue called El Griba on the island of Jerba? No, I did not know that. Interesting. Thanks for that info, and thanks for the super chat. And I'm happy that you're enjoying the work that we do over here. Um, Somebody's asking, are there Arabic news stations? So Amira comes and says I-24 has Arabic, and I actually asked Gemini. Gemini is kind of like ChatGPT, but it's Google's. And they say Makan 33 is an Arabic channel operated by Israel Public Broadcasting Corporation. It originated as Channel 33, which was launched in 1994. Has broadcast news, talk shows, education programs aimed at both Arab-speaking Israelis and viewers in neighboring countries. So yeah, it seems like there's at least two. Yeah, you know what's been interesting? Like we talk about how much misinformation. So here's a very common one, and I've been correcting people on this. So, and I saw you also correcting some people. So there was an article coming out showing that the Gaza Ministry of Health says
Oh
that
yeah, that remember that.
yeah, that was a rough one, huh? That they have incomplete records on 11,000 of those killed by Israel. Now, many people. Now, what does it mean incomplete record? So, and I think we'll dedicate an episode just to the Gaza Ministry of Health and their legitimacy. But the Gaza Ministry of Health, it's not that they never lie or are never wrong, but they have a system when they report on deaths over time, they actually release the name and ID number of everybody killed. Now, these names and ID numbers can be verified through the Palestinian population registry, which is a registry that's controlled by Israel. So when they release a name and ID number, you could know that it's not fabricated. So when it comes to the total amount killed, the Gaza Ministry of Health is actually required to show receipts for what they're claiming. Now, there's a timeline here, right? So they showed the receipts after a week after October 7th. They said 9,000 Gazans were killed. They gave the name and ID number of all of them. Since then, they have not released the list. So whatever number they're saying, we cannot know for sure until they show us the proof. Now, essentially what this article said was they have the name and ID numbers of 22,000, but there's 11,000 where they have incomplete data, which means they're missing some information, name, ID number, maybe a body is still under rubble. And it shouldn't be surprising that they have incomplete data given the level of chaos in Gaza. Many people interpreted this. They didn't read the article or they really didn't care. They said, you see, the Gaza Ministry of Health admits that they were lying and only 22,000 were killed. And then they go on to say, and out of those 22,000, 13,000 were Hamas militants. Where do they get the number 13,000 from? Well, Israel said so. And that should not be a trusted source of information. Any claim made that without proof given should not be trusted. So if Israel is not releasing the names and IDs numbers of these 13,000, then take it with a grain of salt. Not only take it with a grain of salt, you could assume it's not true. It's a highly inflated number. And then they concluded that only 9,000 civilians were killed, which is the the lowest ratio of civilian deaths in any modern warfare. So what do? They take one article, misinterpret and misrepresent it, and then they take a claim that Israel made at face value without questioning it and reach a completely false conclusion. So and that was shared far and wide. So yeah, this is just like one example of how this misinformation is peddled and how it's shared far and wide. And I asked many people, many accounts, many, a simple question: how do you know 13,000 were killed? Interestingly, only one person responded. I think they were almost embarrassed to respond by saying Israel reported on it because they understand that that is not that, like, even though they're taking Israel's information as truth, they understand that that's not a compelling uh, response, and it's not going to convince somebody who doesn't trust the IDF blindly. Um, the only response I got was was well, I trust that more than I trust the Gaza Ministry of Health, which again, that's not answering the question. That's just deflecting and casting doubt on the Gaza Ministry of Health, who happens to show receipts. Um, so yeah, we'll do a full episode on this, maybe even get some scholar on the topic on. But yeah, Todd, we have any more updates?
No, it's so actually I can't wait. I'm just trying to actually let me just quickly listen to something. I just don't want to say anything until I've heard
Sure.
it myself. So just give me a sec.
Mhm. So here's an update from Shael Ben Ephraim, who I shouted out earlier. He writes, the IDF has identified over 200 drones and missiles launched at Israel. The vast majority were shot down successfully by Israel and its allies. A few hit Israel. The vast majority shot down over other countries. An IDF base was lightly damaged, no injuries. Shell, generally speaking, as far as I've seen him, can be trusted with what he's saying. He's diligent and doesn't blindly report. And he is one that, if he were to make a mistake, I'm quite confident he would come out and correct it, although I have not seen that happen yet because I don't think he makes many mistakes in his reporting. Are you familiar with that account, by the way, Tal?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to confirm. Is that there? It seems that Ramon Air Base that they did actually cause damage to it.
Okay, the remote airbase, which
But
does show the sophistication of these missiles, right?
by the way, that's what I said that they were going to attack. That was
Oh yeah.
my. I said that 2 weeks ago that that's what they were going. They were going to attack an Air Force base. Funny enough, though, regarding that is that Ramon wasn't one of the Air Force bases that they've ever talked about. Like they either talked about Nevatim or Palmachim, and that's really it. They never really talked about the others.
Oh, I actually know why they attacked the Air Force base. I'll tell you why. Yesterday, Syrian girl tweeted, "If I was in Iran's war room, I would choose to target Israel's air bases. This will prevent future Israeli airstrikes against civilians in Gaza and stop the genocide." So I'm sure they read that tweet, and that's why they decided to do it. Good on her with that, like, brilliant strategy. She really helped them there, huh? Isn't that such a dumb tweet? To think that she somehow has like a level of sophistication beyond what the Iranian military has and intelligence has.
So,
Aaron is saying, I mean, Israel attacked them first. I would just go back to the States at this point if I were you guys. Well, I'm actually currently in Venice Beach, California, so I'm in the States. Tal's in Israel. I'm not going to be in Israel
oh,
until July.
I love when people do this. So
What?
I corrected one misinformation post,
Mm-hmm.
and then they reply by sharing me another misinformation post that I debunked.
Oh.
I love those.
Yeah, we need to find a way to really have like a lot of the fact checking sites are a little slow, and a lot of them are actually funded by certain interest groups. We need to really find a way um, like to just have a way to be able to accurately provide information on many topics in real time, and maybe AI can help with this, and that's trusted across the board. Like the methodology needs to be publicly made. The people who fund this operation all need to be known. It needs to be funded also by a diverse group of people on many sides of the political spectrum, so it gains trust across the people. Because our inability to know what is true in today's world is really a threat to to humanity. We're heading towards this dystopian world where we just have no idea what's real and what isn't. Baron asks, I didn't understand what you meant about Syrian girl. I was just making a joke. She tweeted that she was giving advice to Iran that they should attack a military base. It's just a dumb tweet. Like Iran understands what a strategic strike is. They understand what targets would be good to hit. So it's just silly that she was giving them that advice. And I was making a joke attributing their strategy to her. Hope that clarifies.
Yeah. Regarding the thing about, like a trustworthy badge, or there are also sites that do ratings, kind of like how trustworthy certain reports are. But for example, I've seen the sites, and sometimes like how you define what's trustworthy can also be a problem. But I think that the one thing that we can say is that when you post information that can be verified incredibly easily, like there's no, you don't need to be sophisticated. You need to know very, very basic skills. Then I think that really should do really remove your credibility as a creator. But it doesn't, and that's an issue. Because also, if it agrees with my narrative, then I don't care. Yeah, I just want to show you actually the misinformation thing. I thought was really funny.
Yeah. Well, Data Poet Society said a trusted news source already exists, Fox News. I don't know if you're trolling or not, but that is not what we mean. And if you think that's like the number one source of truth, I have a.
Yeah, there's no such thing as
I hate
one.
to break to you, buddy, but yeah. I think Twitter is. You're asking if Twitter's good. Twitter is good at like real time reporting because it's democratized. Anybody can contribute, but for that reason, there's just so much misinformation, and it's so hard to know what's true. Yeah, I'm seeing a few people saying a 10-year-old was killed. I don't know. I'm not seeing this on any news site, so I wonder.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. Something I don't understand is when people like are sharing videos of showcasing civilians like fleeing or running away. I'm like, what do you want them to do? Like, I don't understand. That's what civilians are supposed to do. You don't stand there and get hit by the missile or by you run.
Right, exactly. And Syrian girl goes, Netanyahu is hiding in a bunker underground. What do you expect him to do? Just not protect himself? Like, come on. Although many people say that about Nasrallah, that he's hiding in a bunker. It's obviously people are going to hide in a bunker if they're in danger of being killed. And then Lee Kern, again, a pro-Israel propagandist, goes, Iran tried to attack the Alaska Mosque and Dome of the Rock. Israel intercepted the rockets to protect these Muslim buildings. That's just pure propaganda and bullshit. They did not target Dome of the Rock. They targeted Jerusalem. That seems clear. They have zero reason to target Dome of the Rock. And Israel's not protecting a Muslim prayer site. They're protecting Jerusalem. Like, let's see. You're saying it's on Ynet. 200 drones and missiles in first wave of strike. But I'm not seeing anywhere that 10-year-old was killed. I saw a 10-year-old was injured, and seriously injured very well means he might not make it. That is true, but I'm not seeing it reported anywhere.
A lot of it
I find that my personality on Twitter is different. It's hard for me to be as nice. Like, I feel like I'm just snarky with people. I guess that side of me is real. Like, I have that side of me, but
Well, like
there's some
for
people
example,
who, like, the account Amidar. He's great. He's so peaceful on Twitter, but for some reason, it just brings out my snarky side.
yeah. Someone was saying in the chat, like, honest question: why bother send 200 rockets that you know will barely do any harm? The majority of them are. It's a combination of cruise missiles and rockets. By the way, from what we know, a lot of the drones are still on their way to Israel. They haven't actually made it yet. They're still a few hours away. But one, we know that most likely there's going to be more stages to this attack. But again, I think that even if they stopped right now, I mean, if they're able to get a good image from the Ramon Air Base and show like proper destruction on some portion of the base, that's a victory image of showcasing, like, we attacked Israel. We managed to penetrate one of the IDF's Air Force base. I can't remember the last time the IDF was ever attacked like that on one of its Air Force bases. I think in 1973. Like, you can't remember when an Air Force base was attacked last, like that. Not just like
Right.
infiltration or a small one rocket hitting the base. I'm talking about like a major attack. I think it's 1973, during the Yom Kippur War, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that that's a major win, I would say, for Iran in terms of being able to like penetrate Israel's defenses and hit
Yeah,
one of its bases. And it also doesn't escalate. But the question is, like, is this the end?
there,
It probably isn't.
there's a lot of data to collect. But did you see that Iran said, as far as they're concerned, the score is settled? So
I didn't see that at all. Where's
yeah,
that from?
yes, that was reported that.
Yeah, but who reported it and what was the source of that?
I will find it.
I want to see your sources.
No problem. Let's find it. Says it. Let's see.
I'm surprised I haven't gotten blocked by any of the accounts that I've corrected today. Usually I am.
Damn, I mean, I should have saved the link, but I will find it. Apparently, a little girl was hit in the head with shrapnel in the attacks. Yeah, so we're hearing conflicting reports about the injured. We're hearing a boy, a girl. Now we're hearing 7 years old, not 10 years old. Maybe there's 2 injured. Interesting.
There are reports that there was a ballistic missile destroyed outside of in space, which looks pretty incredible, but I haven't seen it confirmed by anyone yet, but it's going around.
Okay, I think I found it.
Trying to find more information.
Trust this. So I have not yet found it. So it is possible that I have engaged, that I have peddled in misinformation early on in the stream by saying Iran came out and said that as far as they're concerned, it is over.
This is why I demand your sources.
Now, again, I'm still looking for it. It was reported, so I can't even find the report to debunk it or not, debunk it or verify it. But I'm willing to admit that I very well may have made a mistake, and I will let you know as soon if I can find it or not. Acrom again says, Adar, what is an opinion you have that recently changed? It's a great question. So one of them is actually, I don't know if it's an opinion, but once I understood the Gaza Ministry of Health's process and that they actually need to report the name and ID number, or not that they need to, but that's what they do. I understood that they're actually not just making shit up to the extent that many people claim they are. But there are examples when they do, like when Al-Abi, or however you pronounce it, the hospital was struck. They said like shortly after 500 people were killed in that hospital. And there's no way they could have known 500 were killed that quickly. So that's an example of them just, jumping to a conclusion or just making something up. But generally speaking, the total number that they release, they show a name and an ID number. So this is something I learned. So I understood, okay, I actually, I don't want to say trust them, but because they go through a system that is verifiable, I don't think they're just making stuff up in terms of the total number killed. And they don't report on the number of militants killed. So this we just can't know. But in terms of total number killed, I think that their numbers, generally speaking, and if we looked at past conflicts, has actually been quite accurate. So
By the way,
that's something new. Wait, one more thing. Another thing is that at the beginning, I was never confident that the operation in Gaza would be successful in terms of defeating Hamas, but I was a little bit more on the fence. I thought, you know what, maybe it's possible. Now I'm pretty damn confident that Hamas will remain in power when all is said and done. So these are new things or just evolutions to what I believed or known to be true. And if I think of any more, I'll let you know. Yeah, Tal.
it seems that the new statement is that that Israelis don't need to be near bomb shelters anymore throughout the entire country.
Oh, interesting. Well, okay, cool. Let's see. Did you hear anything about Saudi Arabia being involved in the defense as well and shooting down? Supposedly Al
Mm,
Arabiya reported that.
uh, no, I didn't say anything about that myself. Again, it's hard to know. I want to be careful about what I say right now. It's better to wait and see.
Okay. Well, we could.
Supposedly,
Al Arabiya very well might be reporting that, but
an Israeli military analyst, military correspondent, like Israeli military correspondent, said that, which is sounds never mind. It
okay.
sounds a little bit too weird. I'm not going to even share it. Like it doesn't look confirmed. So, anyways, it seems that things are a little bit quiet now. Seems
Yeah.
a little
So
bit.
here I'm finding it. Mirav Zonstein, who is Israeli left-wing activist. She said Iran has already said it's over, but I want to find the source to this. So she said as well, but she's not the only one.
So,
You know what's also annoying? Like a lot of people who are just calling out Iranian aggression, but said absolutely nothing when Israel attacked the consulate. Like, have some self-respect, honestly. Like crying, like playing victim, but not saying anything when Israel clearly did something to instigate. Come on, come on, guys, get with the program.
seems that the Ministry of Culture and Sports is saying that Israel has the legitimacy for a massive strike against.
Correct. They're saying they're going to hit back hard.
But the thing is that while it was and let's just say there's nothing else happening and this is it. It wasn't like Israel did very well in defending, and
Oh yeah,
also
for
a
sure.
coalition of different countries. Like there's no reason to escalate it beyond this.
Correct. Correct. Unless Israel really does have interest for there to be a greater regional war, right? It's hard to know their motivation.
We seems that hopefully the report isn't true that the child was killed, but hundreds of ballistic suicide drones and cruise missiles and only one casualty is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But again, I think we need to really wait another 24 hours because sometimes reports of soldiers that could have, like, there's a good chance that soldiers could have been killed on the base.
True.
If they're directly hit by some of these missiles, there's a good chance that could have happened. So we need to wait a little bit to have a full picture of what actually occurred.
I agree. Data Poet saying, I haven't seen the number 50 report on the Al Ali hospital death count list. I've seen from US is 100 to 300. I could try to find that for you, but from what I recall, they changed the number to around 50. Yeah. Yeah, so this is Casimir is saying essentially what we open this with. Trump demonstrated how to deal with Iran. He reacted to a drone attack by allowing their top leader to be assassinated, and then absorbed their face, saving response without further escalation. So, right when the U.S. assassinated Soleimani at an airport in Iraq, um, Iran did strike back. They hit a U.S. base, but they told the U.S. before they were going to hit it. So there were no casualties. It was to show that, look, this is a response, um, to show strength, not project weakness, right? So I feel like they're doing something similar here, and it wouldn't be surprising if one of the reasons why this wasn't deadly is because there very well may have not been an attempt for it to be deadly, just show that they're strong, but not not so tragic that Israel would feel the need to respond. Um, but again, this is all speculation, so it's unclear.
Indeed. It seems that it's pretty quiet, surprisingly quiet.
Right.
Like every once in a while, I hear fighter jets, but nothing too crazy.
Okay. Do we wrap it up? Maybe we
Yeah,
get
I think
come
it's
back
good to
on
wrap it up for
tomorrow.
now. It seems that so far it's been relatively good. I was so far I've been dead on about what was going to happen. So at least that I
Mhm.
wasn't I didn't screw up that. That was good. I was wrong about the date. I originally thought that they were going to attack on Quds Day,
Mm.
Jerusalem Day, which was last Friday.
Mm.
Um, but I wasn't. I was right about where they were going to attack, which made sense more to their what the type of response that they wanted to have. But
Right.
we'll see. I mean, the attack might not be over, and we could end up seeing a diversion to civilian zones. But we'll see.
And by the next stream, I will come with the source of the claim that Iran says, as far as they're concerned, this is over. Or I will come with the confirmation that that is not true. That is my commitment to you all. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Yeah,
Stay safe.
and if you guys aren't sure about any videos, I tried to fact check the majority of them. So just look at my Twitter page, Talhagen, just literally the name that's here below. And I'm going to try to get a few hours of sleep, and then I'll be back to look at all the misinformation that I
Yeah, damn,
missed.
it's almost 4 a.m. for you, huh? Yeah, get some sleep.
Yeah.
Get some sleep, bro.
See
Awesome.
you guys.
Talk soon, everybody.
See you guys.